What is going on, guys? My name is Wiz, and today I am going to talk about the combat system in GODFALL. Now, if you are a new player or someone that just started the game or mid-game or whatnot, and you are trying to figure out the combat as well as feeling powerless, then I'm going to tell you how to approach the game and have fun with the game. Now, I've been playing the game for a minute now. I've already completed the story. Now I'm on my way to level 50, so I figured, I should help out for the new player out there. Now, whenever you play this game, you're gonna have a lot of gear, and in the gears, you have a lot of stats in the gear that you may not understand what they do. Like, for instance, let's take this hammer right here. As you can see, this hammer say whenever you perform a weapon technique, you create a time bubble that slows enemy by 50%. It got a cooldown of 120 seconds. But if you don't know what weapon technique is, then you may not know how to take advantage of this hammer that is so powerful. So I'm just gonna show you an example. As you can see on the screen on the left side, we have weapon techniques down there, and it shows you which button that you have to press to actually make this happen. There's also another important thing you need to understand about this game. What on your screen on the left side, you get your shield, you also get your health bar, as well as some other things for your banner, and you also have the bar for your Archon Fury, which is actually your ultimate or super, whatever you want to call it. But on the right side, you get the indication for your weapon. It shows you when your weapons are charged. Those involve all the techniques, the combat techniques that exist in the game. Now, for instance, let's talk about the hammer perks that we talked about. So to actually make this happen, I'm gonna show you that I'm gonna press the button, and then I am gonna use it. As you can see that I have this bubble, the shield that the perks talks about. Like you can see the shield right there. So that shield makes the enemy slower, and I can just proceed to just do my attack. But if you don't know how to use weapon technique, because that's what the perks say you have to use in order for you to make this happen, then you won't know what to do. So this is the reason why I am going to show you the thing about the combat technique. So let me show you exactly how to take advantage of the skills and the techniques. So this all revolves around the skills. So if you go inside the game right here, when you are on the Valor Plate tab, and you also see on the bottom you have gear, you got augments, your charge, and also you have skills. Now skills here is where it's at. So you're gonna acquire skill points whenever you're playing the game. So you got to make sure you use those skills wisely. That's how you're gonna open up the combat techniques that you see on the screen that you have to take advantage of. So if you're gonna use your skills points, the first thing I would suggest that you do is look at the four corners. As you can see on the skills grid, you got weapon techniques on the left side, and then you also have polarity attacks on the right side, and then on the very bottom you have finesse, and then you have on the left bottom you have shield throw. When you start accumulating points in the game, just put 1 point in each of these corners. I suggest you do that. Simple reason, the weapon techniques that we talked about in the demonstration that I showed you in the beginning, that's how you open that up. Now, as you can see, when you put your first point in the weapon techniques, you see at level 1, it says if you press LT plus RB to perform another technique, and if you press LT plus RT, that allows you to perform a certain technique. This is what the perks was talking about in the hammer. So if you can take advantage of that, then you are going to have a lot more power than you can imagine. But if you don't put any points in weapon techniques, then you will not be able to use that. So that's the reason why it's important to put your skill points where they're gonna make a difference. Now, you can max it out to have more power, or you can just leave it at level 1 if that's what you choose to do. But again, if you go over there on the polarity attacks, which is also a very good way to get some power damage in the game. So this one, it says you charge up your polarity attack by hitting enemies with your weapon when fully charged. You can swap weapons to unleash a shockwave and boost. Now I'm gonna show you how that works. Like for instance, if you see on the right side, right, you see the weapon, you got the hammer, and you also have the swords. That's because you have two weapons whenever you are using the character. So as you can see right here, I got the weapon on the left and I also get a weapon on the right. So it doesn't matter which weapon you use. Whenever you start using the weapon is going to charge. Now the second weapon on the bottom, whenever it's charged, then you can switch to that weapon and you are going to do a polarity damage, and that allows you to do a very big amount of damage. Now if we go back to the skills grid again, as you can see, the polarity attacks, it says that you have a 20% damage that you can do for 30 seconds. So that's how you do this. Basically, it's a matter of switching weapon, but the weapon has to be charged. So I am going to show you an example when the weapon is charged and how that happens. Now, this is an example where my weapon is charged. My second weapon is charged. As you can see on the bottom of the screen, my sword is charged. So once I switch to the sword, you can see I have a shockwave. You see what it does to the enemy? So it actually deletes that enemy. So that's the reason why this polarity damage is very important. And then as long as you're using it for 30 seconds, you should be good to go. Now you can go back and start, using the same weapon and then go do the same thing and, rinse and repeat. That's how this works. Now back to the skill grid. Again, that's the reason why I say it's important to put some points in there that we can take advantage of it. Again, the more points you have, the more points you add to it, and then the more powerful it's going to be. So now let's talk about the right bottom that we talked about, finesse. Now finesse is a skill that you use to use your evasion tactics. Basically, when you first start the game, if you don't have any points in there, then all you gotta do is just use the A button on the Xbox, and then you will just move back. But once you put 1 point in there, then you see it says when you press A while evading to perform an evasive slide, it increases your mobility as you evade. So now you have a slide instead of just move back. So that's the reason why this is important. But if you don't want to do this, you don't have to put any points in there, but I feel like this is a very, very good skill to use because it makes you a lot faster in trying to avoid danger, and that's why it's important. Now, let's go to the left side and we're talking about the shield. The shield is also one of the main weapons in the game, even though it's a shield, but you can also use it as a weapon because it can be very powerful if you put a lot of points in there. As you can see, when you press L, B, and B together, then you perform an arching shield. This is very powerful when you actually do that. So I'm going to show you an example how this works. Now, since my shield is not charged, you got to make sure that your shield is charged before you can do it. But let me see if I can do it without the shield being charged. So I'm going to press LB. I'm going to press the right button and I'm going to see that's what that does. That's the action you have. Now that I show you the 4 main areas that I believe you should start putting your points in the beginning, then what other skills that you need to invest in? I would say the other one would be like weapon timing, and you also have soul shattering. This is also a very good skill that you have to invest in, so make sure you do those. And if you're gonna use breach, and you can do that. And then basically after that, it's a matter of what you want your playstyle to be. So you also have weak points, which is also a very good skills to actually invest some points in. And then if you're wondering about critical chance and critical damage and stuff like that, if you worry about those, then you can just invest some point. But the main one are gonna be might, and you also have spirit, and you also gonna have vitality. Those come with all the gear in the game. So if you check your gear real quick, now when you take a look at your character screen and you see on the attribute side of things, you see you have might, spirit, and vitality. So the more points you put in those, the more powerful you're going to be as far as more damage, staying alive longer, and all that stuff. So that's why you can also add some more of this percentage point in the game with those things on your skill grid. So the more you invest in those, the more you're gonna have for those stats in the game. Also, I forgot to mention Archon Fury. So if you invest in those, Archon Fury is basically your ultimate, or you can call it the super, your very big damage, take everything down kind of stuff. So you know, you need to invest in that if you really worried about that. But I believe it's very important because it makes you more powerful, you do more damage. So if you can invest some points in that, then you should be good to go. Now, I believe that's basically all you need to know about the basic combats. You know, there are plenty more you can do in the game, but those are the basics when you're first starting the game. If you understand those, how things synergize between your gear and their skill grids, and as well as, you know, the stats and all that stuff, then you're gonna have a very good time when it comes to the end game in this game, and you're gonna have a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say about this thing. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you find this helpful. I will see you guys later.